So, Narelle, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank
We'll,
you for having
we'll-
me.
no worries. Thank you for coming down. So, you've drove down from South Wales.
Yes.
Yeah, a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
But we'll start off. Obviously, you're a property investor. You're in the property space.
Yeah.
So, I guess if we just talk about what you actually do, I know you focus on commercial to residential.
Yes.
And is that all you do in the space?
No, not really. So I started with rents. So rent service accommodations, got my cash flow up within that. I'm using JV finance for that though as well because I didn't start with much. And then, or if anything, and then once I realized I was good at raising finance, that's when I moved into the commercial space.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my first BRR to SA, which was big numbers. It was 425k to purchase Rect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so essentially, got into the commercial, did my first BRR, which was really expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but we made good money off of it, and then moved straight into the commercial. So then I started with my pub,
Yeah.
and then we've only just had full plan on that, though. That's been a year.
Mm.
And then everything else we've done, so since then, we were buying a semi-commercial, which was half and half sort of thing, with apartments above.
Mm-hmm.
But that actually fell through right at the last hurdle with the investor,
Oh, okay.
which
What,
is
he,
really frustrating.
he pulled out or?
He did, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, right at the last second.
Any particular reason why?
We had a down valuation on it initially, and then I spoke to my broker and I said, "How did we get this so wrong? Like, how did I get this so wrong? Essentially, the end value, not the end value. Sorry, the value as it was there now. Like we had a down valuation as now, so they were saying we were paying too much for it, which is mind-boggling. So he said that essentially blocks of flats get a discount, which I didn't know about.
Okay.
So I've learned loads this year
Yeah.
by small errors like that.
Mm.
So that one fell through. But essentially everything else we've done, even the residential properties we're buying, they get the commercial valuation on the back end. That's always the aim. So it's always a commercial element towards the end.
Yeah. So when you say commercial, that's a commercial valuation. That's not a standard
It's not.
residential type of evaluation, right?
No. So normally it'd be bricks and mortar valuation.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything over, generally speaking, it's over a 6-bed, 6-en-suite. Then it becomes a commercial valuation on the back end.
Okay.
But my broker contacted me not so long ago and he said, look, there is some lenders now doing 5-bed, 5-en-suite.
Mm.
So that was well, good news for us, obviously.
Yeah. And you've been on the academy for how long now?
About a year and a half, because it was a 6-month gap where I couldn't fund getting back in.
Yeah.
Literally. So 2 years in total, really, but there was a 6 months where I wasn't on the academy.
Mm. And how has the academy kind of changed your life in the sense that did you think you were going to be in this position
No, not at
a
all.
year and a half ago?
No, I one thing I would say is that I've always believed that I would be successful. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I've always had different companies that funded my animal work previously. So yeah, I've always been in business. I just never found one that what I was passionate about and not my niche, if as it were. So I ended up closing them down or whatever and just starting something else, just doing something else and, diversifying as it were.
Yeah. So how many properties do you have at the moment?
We've got 8 big ones, but we've just secured another 3 or 4 this week, which is unbelievable. A lot of work going on.
And is it all JV type, not your own money?
No. It's all not my own money, but we either use investor finance, which is a fixed percentage return,
Okay.
which is obviously my preferred option, or we joint venture. And I don't really mind either way because 50% of something's better than 100% of nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I've got 9 companies at this point, all with different elements of property. I would say about 4 of the 9 are JV companies, and then the other 5 are solely mine. So anything in those companies is mine.
Wicked. I mean, JVs is something that we struggle with, but as you can tell, Narelle, I like to say Narelle is a character. I feel as though your character just draws people towards you. Would you say that?
Yes, based on the last 2 years. I wouldn't have before though. Like I think people, I think I'm like Marmite. I think you either hate me or you love me, and there's no middle ground. There's nobody that's sort of meh.
Why would they think that they don't like you?
Because I'm loud. Because I'm maybe a bit too in your face sometimes. So like, I think I scare reserved people sometimes. So, but some reserved people love me because they get the energy off me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we really want to focus on this year is, so our strategy is buy, refurbish, refinance.
Yep.
That's the umbrella. And underneath that, we either have deal selling, JVs, or we take it on ourselves.
Okay.
And whenever we view a property, our end goal is what one of those 3 avenues will it be? Are we going to sell it, potentially JV, or buy it ourselves? And I think it's just so important being a people person when it comes to JV because, no one's going to give you 500k and say, do this with it, right?
Well, that's the other thing. So I still use bridging finance. So I'm not asking people for huge amounts of money. I just need the deposit money. and then the kickoff finance for the development finance, which is normally 20, 25K.
Yeah.
That bit is. And then the deposits for the properties I'm buying anyway, you're talking anywhere between 30 to 70K. So in total, at a max, I'm looking for like 100, generally from a JV. If I'm doing it as a cash investment, then what I'll do is I'll ask somebody for 30 grand for the deposit, or 50 grand or whatever that is. And then I'll ask somebody else for the 20 grand for the kickoff of the development finance, and then I'm done. So I think people think you need loads of money, but you don't. If you break it down in increments, then it feels smaller. And
Do
yeah.
Do you think you can implement that in London when when a house is 500K? Or are we talking more on like the 200, 300K?
The deposit will obviously be bigger, wouldn't it? But like even 200-300, I haven't paid 300 for anything. And I've got massive, like my perp cost me 110 grand in the end. I said 130 on my winners on a Wednesday, but it was 110 in the end.
That's great. That's actually great. But let's take a step back.
Yeah.
So you mentioned to me, let's go back to 16-year-old Narelle.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me that property wasn't anywhere in your sight, right?
Yeah.
You told me that you dabbled into a lot of different things. I know that on Winners on a Wednesday with Samuel Leeds, you mentioned that you were a lorry driver, but I know that you mentioned that you've done many things before. So I'm intrigued to know and paint that story for my viewers. 16-year-old Narelle, where was she heading? Was she planning to go to uni, do a 9 to 5? Like, where was she heading?
Okay, so my worst nightmare was going to uni.
Okay.
I was good at academics, but I just didn't like it.
Okay.
I can't keep quiet, for instance, stuff like that. So, so essentially I remember going to the careers advisor when I was 16 in school. And I used to go there because I used to get kicked out of maths all the time.
Yeah.
So I used to go to sit with him for an hour and I'd talk to him about what business I was going to do. It was always business. So I wanted to have an all-female run mechanics garage, doing modifications on cars. I was so into Fast and Furious when I was that age.
Okay.
Like, loved it. So that was my big plan. I went from there, moved in with my dad, which was up in Herefordshire. And then I went to, I got an apprenticeship essentially.
Okay.
But it took me ages to find my apprenticeship in a car garage. And then 2 weeks before, they would like laughing me out of there, like when I was asking them and stuff. And I was just thinking, this is bad business on your part because like women trust women coming out from under their car and men want to see it. So I feel like that's bad business on your front. Like, do you know what I mean? Anyway. So anyway, found one anyway. 2 weeks before it was meant to start, I called them and just said, look, I'm ready to go, blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, I'm really sorry, we don't need you now. And I was like, okay, great. So my mum said, you don't want to waste a year. And I ended up doing AS levels, which was not what I wanted to do at all.
Yeah.
I reluctantly did it.
And what did you study in AS?
I did film studies, communication and culture, and business.
Communication and culture. That was
a thing back then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ye olden days. No, I'm not that old. But yeah, it was a thing. I thought it was a DOS class, to be honest. Yeah.
So where were you heading? Like what was your goal at 16?
I always wanted to be in business. So when I didn't get the apprenticeship, I was thinking, oh God, how am I going to do this? Because I'm like a year behind now, minimum. Do you know what I mean? And I was disheartened and flattened by it a bit because I was annoyed because it took me so long to find them in the first place.
Yeah.
So what did I do after that? I ended up working in a little newsagents. I got on really well with the owner of the newsagents. And then he made me assistant manager pretty quickly because I was like jigging the shelves around and stuff and bringing in a younger group of customers, which he hadn't had. So he was like really empowering for me. Like, what's the word? Encouraging. Like he was just super encouraging. And then I got the opportunity to go to the Peter Jones Academy in Buckinghamshire.
Okay.
And I was nervous to go a little bit. I don't get nervous very often, but I was a little bit nervous because big city, and I was not a city girl at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then my boss said to me, like, you've got to go. Like you were destined for business. Like, you got to go. Like, so I went. Had the best year of my life. I felt like I did really well there. So for me, I left that course thinking you had to create a business within that course.
Okay.
You had to structure it in the way you wanted to structure it. And I was out of 250 applicants, only 60 of us got in. By the end of the course, only 30 of us remained. Something like that. It was ridiculous how many people dropped out because of how hard it was and like so many classes and things. But I was the only person who picked a limited company because I wanted the limited liability.
Yeah.
So so I properly set up a company, like at 19, like did it properly, and everyone else just went sole trader because it's easier, isn't it? So I did that, and we did hypothetical pitches for investment. And during that pitch for investment, I actually got given the cash to do the business side setup,
Oh wow.
which was
So it's
mental.
like a Dragon's Den type of.
It was, but it was supposed to be hypothetical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so, like, I was hyperventilating before I went in there. I was like, my teachers were like, you can talk, Narelle, like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh my God, like, properly panicking. And then I went in there and I was like, hi, my name's Narelle. Like, it just came out my mouth really well. It was crazy. It was a little bit mad. Like, even I shocked myself at how ridiculous I'd been before to when I went in there. And there was something else we did, which I always remember. We did speed networking with local business people in the Buckinghamshire area, I guess.
Yeah.
And the first guy I sat there, we 5 minutes each. We had to do our elevator pitches, which was obviously part of what we'd been trained to do. Gave him my elevator pitch, and then the bell rang. And after about 5 minutes talking, and he said, wait here a minute. Went and talked to my teachers, came back, and he said, yeah, I'm sticking with you all year. I'm not going to switch. So I never moved tables. I stuck with that guy. So he became my first ever mentor, actually.
Wicked.
Loved him.
And would you say that was when your mindset shifted to?
I'd say it wasn't on.
Oh yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like I knew I was going to do business. I wanted to do the garage in school, so I always knew I was going to do a business.
Yep.
It just kept changing on what the business was going to be.
And now you're into property.
Yes, best move I ever made, and it is all down to the academy.
Yep.
Yeah.
In 3 words from 16-year-old Narelle to now, how would you describe your journey?
Chaos.
Okay, why chaos?
Just because I'm chaotic.
Does that trickle down into your businesses from like an operational standpoint?
Not from an operational standpoint, because I've got a PA now, but when I say chaos, I mean I do whatever I say I'm going to do, I just do it. So that could be like I said, I'm going to do a podcast, and I'd like within 2 days I'd set that up. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? I just do stuff, and then it's all very quick, which makes my life chaotic. Okay. Do you see what I mean? So I'm constantly just like, I've spoken to Drew about this as well, and we were just saying sort of like you say you're going to do something, you just do it, and there's no middle ground, and that creates the chaos. Do you know what I mean?
Would you say that's a bad thing?
No, I think it's great, because I think it's the reason I've been successful in my own right in the property sphere, because I just do what I say I'm going to do, and I do it quickly.
And I think that's what a lot of people fail at. They say they're going to do something, and then they don't. Yes. So I think I would personally rather be chaotic, say I'm going to do things, 2 days later, set up the podcast, then wait 2 years and, oh no, I don't want to do this. Exactly. So it's definitely a good trait to have.
It can be a problem, I'm sure. I haven't encountered it yet, but even if something goes wrong, quite good at fixing it. Yeah. Like I consider myself like a fixer as well. So I don't, I'm glad I've got it. But my mum always, as a kid, always used to say like a bull in a china shop, your dog with a bone, all of that rubbish. Yeah. But actually, I think that's the reason that I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And then what's your other 2 words to describe your journey?
Chaotic, energetic.
Okay.
Because I can go without sleep, food, whatever. I just do what I've got to do, and I get it done. So energetic. I would say probably another thing that's probably made me successful is being personable. I didn't know that was a thing as such. I was just being normal in my mind. But people keep saying the word personable, so I assume personable is part of my success.
Yeah, no, it's good, because I would say you're very authentic. You're yourself. And I think a lot of people in this world are not authentic. They're afraid to be authentic. They're afraid to either be the person that they are behind closed doors when no one's around, or afraid to say the wrong things. And I can't remember who said it, but authenticity is, if you couldn't fail or get judged for anything, who would you be? Yes. Would you say you live by that?
Yes. Well, yes. Not knowing, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yes. I'd rather be known for doing my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
As it were.
And it's helping. Like, I think the 3 words that it sums it up perfectly. Like, if I was to meet you just now and you would say that, I'd be like, okay, cool, makes sense. Which is a good thing.
You agree with the 3 words?
I would agree with the 3 words, yeah. So now transitioning to that, what would you say has been your biggest challenge so far in your journey?
In property or in general?
I guess I can leave that open to you. You can relate it to property, or you can relate it to life, maybe something in your childhood. or
Oof.
something that people don't really know? Actually,
Okay,
let's not do property.
Okay.
Let's do something like
Personal.
something a bit more personal.
I would say it is personal anyway, because as soon as you ask that question, I can't think of anything huge that's gone wrong in property where I'm like, that's a problem. Do you know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, personally, relationships wise, I suck. I mean partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is normally a thing that it's just like, it's like a dragging a stone behind you. Do you know what I mean? So like, I think for business purposes, better on my own until I can.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Until
Yeah,
I'm at the success level that I want to be at. Give me another couple of years, and do you know what I mean? I think then I can maybe focus on a potential relationship again or not. But I'm not. Yeah. I think I criticize jokingly,
Okay.
thinking I'm being funny, and it's not funny.
So they think not what you're thinking. So you're jokey, and they're thinking, okay. No,
Yeah, but the words came out of my mouth, and whether they came out the way I intended them to or not, like I heard it as a joke, and then so I think I think I criticize sometimes, but I've been listening to a brilliant audiobook on this.
Okay.
It's really, really old. He's talking about who's that old president, Lincoln, and all that. Like it's that old. But it's how to lose friends and how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, that's a great book.
I'm on my second. Like I'm listening to it again.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So I'm taking loads from that.
I need to read that book again. But what's some of the lessons that you've learned from that book?
Remember people's names?
Yes.
So I'm terrible with names, right? Like, obviously, once I know you and we're friends and what have you, like, I know your name. That's it. But there's so many people who approach me at the dinners and at networking events, and I'm like, and I know they know me because I can tell. I'm getting the vibe we've met. But I forget names, and I think that's so rude. Like, hearing it out loud. And I think principle number one is don't criticize.
Yeah.
So, mention the good things and don't focus on the bad things. So, like, if somebody does mess up, say, well, at least you won't do that again. Because that's one of the examples he gives in the book. And I was like, that's so obvious. It seems so obvious.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, in the book it says the moment you criticize someone, you put them on the back foot. You put them on the defense.
Instantly.
Which is not what you want to do.
Exactly. It says avoid arguments at all costs. Nobody wins, even if you win. Because they're not going to come around to your way of thinking because you've made them feel bad. So they're never going to, so nobody wins. And I was like, this is genius. I was like, the amount of arguments I've had with partners and things like that, that's what I mean. I'm like, nobody wins. And they never does. I don't think I've ever been in an argument where somebody comes away actually winning. Do you know what I mean?
True. It's true. And the name thing is so important.
Important.
For me personally, because I've read that book, when I see someone that I've, for example, follow on Instagram, like I'm at the gym and I see him and he goes up to me and he asks my name. Oh, what's your name, bro? I'm like, why are you asking me this? Because when I next see you, you're not going to remember. So I would rather you remember my name. And I tell this to my friend all the time. I get so annoyed when people don't remember your name because I've read the book and I know how valuable it is.
Yeah.
What does he say in the book? People like to hear their own name.
Like they say name. The name is theirs and theirs alone.
Exactly.
And it holds that importance for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn. I was like, and I know I'm terrible with names. So I instantly felt bad. I was like, right, how am I going to get around this? Because I know that I'm bad at it. How do I get better at it? Like the examples they give in the book, like they write them down and they put the birthday down. I was like, I'll lose that piece of paper. That'll get lost. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that.
You know, it's
so I need to work away.
Yeah, because I think he says in that book that, like you said, you have to say it over and over and over time, put a face to a name, and that's the only way you can remember it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, have you implemented that into your business?
Oh, I've just finished the first round of the book.
Okay.
And then driving down here, I started it again.
Wow, nice.
Like literally back to back doing it again so that I remember
everything. 4 hours to kill. So.
Well, yeah. I drive a lot. I think I've put like 35,000 miles on my van in a year.
Yeah, no, it's important. People skills. And in property, it's all about people, right?
Yeah.
You need to be personable.
Yeah. But also, I learned a lot from the Jordan Belfort event. Did you go to that?
I did not know.
Right, so he was talking about sales, and I always thought I was rubbish at sales because I did door-to-door sales, and I hated it. It was the only time in my life I was anxious.
Yeah.
And I ended up quitting because I just couldn't handle it. And then, he was saying you need 3 things you need. You've got 4 seconds to win people over in selling them something. You need to sound sharp as a tack, energetic, and sound like an expert in your field. And I was like, oh, no wonder people give me their money. I think sounding sharp as a tack has something to do with speed at which you speak.
Okay.
because it sounds like you're confident. Like you're like, you know, do you see what I mean? And it's the same with the like being a knowledge, like energy. I have the energy, obviously, but the yeah, like being like an expert in your field. So if you talk about something confidently enough, and that is just how I talk.
Yeah.
So I think that unbeknowingly, I was doing his principles, Jordan Belfort's principles,
Without knowing it.
Yeah, without knowing it. That's just how I speak. So it just, I think that helped me with getting the investors and stuff and getting people on board.
Because what would you say is like, from like an investor standpoint, the biggest sort of objection that you get in regards to when you ask them, hey, give me your money?
Right, this is the other thing, right? I don't ask people for money.
They come to you?
For the most, so no, but I think everybody should be doing this way.
Okay.
So I've met people by coincidence and they ended up being the owners of a venue or whatever. And then I talk to them about property. They tell me they're portfolio landlords. And I'm like, oh, they all, you know, what strategy are you doing? And they're like, buy to lets. And I'm like, oh, they all on ASTs? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you know, you can maximize on your profits by doing this and that, by HMO or SA.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to them in order to give them value. A couple of months later, they were ringing me to ask me if they could invest.
Oh, wow.
That's what I mean. So I do put videos out on Instagram or whatever. I'm like, look, I need 30 grand for a 12-month deal, blah, blah, blah. Again, in that instance, people are coming to me because I've put the video out. That's the only time I ask is when I put a video out. And that's normally if I need it quickly.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll put a video out and that does work for me. But for the most part, it's meeting people face to face, having a conversation with them. And I don't go up to someone and go, oh, you got money, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, great. I need X amount. I don't do that. You talk to people, I find out about them. And again, goes back to that book.
Yep.
So there's a lot of principles in that book where I do think I already do it, which is depends when you catch me, but I'm either great at listening or not great at listening. But for the most part, when I'm at a networking event, I try to be great at listening.
Yes.
Because people like to talk about themselves.
Yes,
it's natural.
Exactly.
It is natural.
Yep.
So I think, and then I just tell them what I'm doing in the same conversation or whatever. But I never say to people, can you invest in me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just sort of, they'll go away either having a good or a bad vibe from me, and then they'll come back to me and be like, look, do you still need X amount for that project you were talking about? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So I think people get nervous by the idea of asking people for money. They don't ask people for money for the most part.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the biggest piece of advice I can give on the raising finance anyway. Because that is the biggest question I get, obviously, because everyone knows I did it with nothing.
Exactly. On the flip side, what's been like your biggest success so far in your life that you're really able to say, I'm really proud of what I've achieved there?
I would say this business.
The property business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in terms of achievements and stuff, like I would say my daughter, obviously, but she's, took two to tango there. So she's not just my responsibility, I think this particular business, I feel like I've done. I feel proud of it. I am proud of it. I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud of the rate at which we've done it and the speed at which we've done it, and the learning curves. I've learned so much. I don't pretend to know everything. I don't even act like I know everything. I'm always learning. I'm talking to mentors. I'm reading listening to audiobooks and stuff, making use of the journey times that I'm doing for stuff. So like I'm a big believer in development and growth and the continuation of learning, but I do think that this business has been my biggest success for sure.
Because how much have you generated so far?
How much have I raised, or how much have I?
I'll say revenue-wise, like the business itself.
Well, so we're not huge amounts, not
because everything's still happening, right?
Yeah, sort of. So I was making probably 4 to 6 grand a month last year on the essays, rental essays, but I got rid of majority of them because they're another business, aren't they? And I've got so many purchases going on all the time that even that stuff I had to start employing to grow that anyway. So I've got a full-time deal seller that works with me now. She started part-time. I've got my brother's 50-50 on the companies with me across the board. And then I've got a PA now.
Wow.
So, I've got another project manager as well. He's not full-time employed or anything, but he comes on for each, the bigger projects, as it were. So I've had to, outsource as I've got bigger as well.
Yeah. So you've created this operation, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And I think that's ultimately the end goal. You want to create this operation where you can look back and say, oh, I've got all these moving parts.
Yeah.
and you're the reason why that's happening. You're making all these money. You're able to be here when you've got projects, builders in your property and so on. And I just think that's such a great achievement in any aspect. It doesn't even have to be property. I'm just talking about in business in general.
Yeah. And I've learned a lot about myself this year, about the last this year in particular, because we only started buying last October.
Yeah.
So although I've been in the academy 2 years, I only started buying a year and 2 months ago. So that's where the speed and the growth and the everything's been this year. The 2024 was my big year of growth.
Yeah. And do you think it's going to be faster, or are you going to slow down a bit?
So much bigger this year.
Yeah.
So much bigger. Right. So put it this way, I've this week. So I've been driving a lot this week. I've been in West Wales for the last 2 days solid.
Okay.
Looking at different property deals. So the first day I went to 2 viewings with the intention of selling them or having them. And I got there and I was like, oh, I want them both. So by the time I'd got back from West Wales to South Wales, which is about 2 hours max, hour and 50, I raised the finance for the two. And I contacted the broker. By the end of play that day, I had the bridging terms already back to me.
Wow.
But so that was day one. And then that night, the same night, then my brother sent me a link to an 18-bed ex-residential care home. And I was like, oh God. I was like, okay, we can't not look at it. So the next day I went back to West Wales, viewed this thing. So we're looking at raising more finance at the minute, but we've got JVs and things that want to work with us, and we're bringing people in. And
does it not scare you how much you're taking on?
that's no, not
it doesn't.
Really. No, not at all. The bigger, the more, the better, really, because we went for net worth rather than cash flow, which I wouldn't advise because we need some cash flow. It's been a tough year for both of us financially because technically we've had bare minimum coming in at best. But all of our main projects that have been going on in 2024 come to a close now, February, March, April. So the second quarter of this year, we're going to have loads of payouts. We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So it's pointless us now trying to deal sell and trying to do loads more rents or anything like that because we're kind of there now. We've gone through the pain of not having the money. Now we're going to start having payouts now. Do you know what I mean? So any more we do is just going to add to that, isn't it?
But
and the net worth.
Is it not just scary taking on all these projects and thinking how am I going to manage this all?
No, because I've employed.
Okay.
So realistically, now my job is raising the finance, doing the bridging paperwork, the marketing, the planning. I'm all the boring stuff now, apart from networking, and I'm like the sorry, I get to network and stuff, right? So that's the good part of my side of the job. I used to be hands-on with the refurbs and doing knocking walls down and basic electrics and stuff, and I miss that because once I've done the paperwork for a purchase, which is a lot, but and then I'm straight into I'll be getting pre-apps in for stuff like that, get all that boring stuff done, and then it's like, what now? Because then it goes over to the project managers, right? So at that point, I'm like, hey, what's next?
Yeah.
So I just keep going.
No, hats off to you. No, it's great. I think moving at a fast pace, if you're able to handle it, why not? Yeah,
I scare the hell out of my mum. Like she's really nervous all the time because we just keep doing stuff, and she's. I'm like, oh, Mum, I found some, and she's like, I'm like, what? Why is your face dropping? I haven't even said anything yet.
Yeah, and these aren't small deals. We're not talking 50, 60K deals. These are pretty big projects.
Yeah, well, so 2025 now, our main focus is land. Actually, I'm going to get this out there. Our main focus is, I don't know how much you know about what the government are doing to farmers at the minute.
No, not at all.
Right, so they've bought in loads of, they've taken 20% of their land off them for biodiversity reasons. Oh, God. And I'm big into biodiversity. I'm big into animals, as you know. So I'm all for biodiversity, but I don't believe they're doing it for that purpose. So they've made farmers give up 20% of their land. They're charging them 20% inheritance tax. So even their kids are going to suffer now when they inherit the very little they already had. Because they haven't really got much but their land, right? Yeah. They don't earn loads of money like farmers do. So my big mission, and it is my mission this year, is I'm going to go and help these farmers by utilizing my property knowledge and my knowledge of trusts to go and educate farmers, get their stories out there by, videoing everything we're talking about and educating them and then get them to tell their story and how it's affecting them and everything. And then the third thing is there's some permitted development rights that enables us to convert some of the structures and stuff. Okay. It's Class Q. Class Q? Class Q, yeah. Never heard of that, but my architect informed me of this, and he said, no, you'd be perfect for this. He said, I want you to focus on it. And then I looked into it and I was like, all right, because I'm animal based anyway. I'll put my wellies on and my dry robe, and I'll go and talk to these farmers directly. But I do want to get their story out there as well. And the trust thing is going to be huge for them.
Yeah.
We teach them how to use trust. That 20% inheritance tax, null and void, or nearly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm excited about 2025.
So you mentioned to me, not many people know that you are an animal girl.
Yes.
So let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Because I know it's quite close to the heart for you. So
yeah.
you mentioned to me that property is not actually your end goal. You're using property to enable yourself to fulfill this purpose of animals. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I once I did the Peter Jones thing, I had a choice to make. So do I continue with business after a bad relationship actually? So I had a bad relationship, crumbled a little bit, and I wasn't as positive in the business mindset that I left the academy with.
Yeah.
And I've just felt a bit like, what do I love? And what I love is animals. So I made the conscious choice to go for animals, not business, because when I got back from the Peter Jones Academy, back to Herefordshire, everyone was very negative. Like, oh, you had a great year, did you? And like, oh, it's super successful, 2,000 pounds. Do you know what I mean? It was all very, and it just drains the life out of you. Like it drains the energy out of your positivity on whatever it is that you've done. So I was very much like, oh, this sucks. I was like, what do I love? What do I actually want to do? And I wanted animals. So I ended up moving to Cornwall. I moved down to, this would have been October time. They would have started in September. I was like, what do I want to do? Animals. Okay, great. Let's join a uni. So I joined a uni late, made the decision, and I went. I moved cross country. And I just went. That's what I mean. It's always chaos.
Yeah.
Like I ended up moving down there with a touring caravan on the back of my car, like, because I hadn't got anywhere to rent with my dogs. So I literally just hooked up a caravan, drove down to Cornwall, and just lived in a caravan for 4 months while I found somewhere to rent.
Yeah.
I'll do what I've got to do to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a high maintenance girl at all. So I ended up doing my animal biology degree, and my main focus was primates. That was what I wanted to do.
Okay.
For like the work placements and stuff like that, I went to South America. So yeah, I was working with primates out there, and one of the biggest things that bugs me is that you can still keep pet primates in the UK today, which is mental.
Yeah.
Like if we know they're close to us in behavior and physics, biology. Sorry, not physics. But yeah, they travel in packs of 10, minimum 10, right? Imagine keeping one on their own.
Yes.
That you're making their destiny insanity. Because they're just going to go insane because it's not what they're meant to do. So yeah, so a lot of animals, a lot of monkeys in particular go, you can keep capuchin size. Do you know the black and white ones off like Ace Ventura and Friends? You know Friends, come on.
I know Friends.
You know the little monkey Ross?
I actually don't.
Marcel, of course.
I actually don't know the monkey.
You don't know the monkey, right? Yeah. Well, he's black. They're the black and white ones, the cute ones that are very trainable.
Yeah.
But they're the biggest ones you can keep as a pet. Sorry, there is a limit to it, but they're my favorites.
Yeah,
as it goes. I ended up bonding with one really well in South America and got a release just before I left, and it was a big emotional moment and all that stuff. So my big mission essentially is to open a primate rehabilitation center in the southern Spain.
Wicked.
So I need money for that. Like I don't want people visiting. I don't want kids there screaming, licking their ice cream, like making loads of noise. I want it to be a sanctuary.
Okay.
So I don't want it to have to be publicly funded or, fundraising for it like all the time. I wanted to just be able to fund it and just let them have a lovely life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And how long have you given yourself to accomplish that? Or is it less?
Well, building the site's going to be incredible. So like a feat in itself. I think it's going to take me like probably a good year to build what I want.
Yeah.
Because I don't want... So when I go to rescue centres and rehabilitation centres and stuff, they've always got like enclosures.
Okay.
And they're never quite... I always look at them and think, not natural, is it? Still not a natural amount of space. Do you know what I mean? So I want acres and I want the enclosure to engulf trees.
Okay.
Which is going to take some serious reinforcing or some serious metal structures. I don't really know how it's going to be done. I'll speak to some builders when the time comes. But I want to engulf trees. I want it to be as natural as possible inside. Do you know what I mean? So I haven't really set myself a time, basically. It's not my, I suppose I want to be building it probably by the time I'm 40 because I don't want to be too old that I can't run it then at the end.
And is that your purpose? Like, is that why
That's my main yeah.
Is that why you're doing? Is that why you wake up every day to fulfill that purpose? That's why you're doing the properties. You're doing these investments.
No, I wouldn't say that's why I wake up every day at the minute.
Okay.
My main reason for main reason I do it is because I like gonna sound really bad. I like to succeed.
There's nothing wrong with
I
that.
no, but I like that feeling. I like winning. I
Yeah,
like.
as you should.
It sounds weird though. I feel like because my brother says that's bragging and stuff like that.
No.
But I like that feeling of just doing it and then when somebody says to you like, oh, how'd you do so many or whatever, and
Yeah.
it seems bigger than it is.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't feel that big. But to other people, it seems big. And it's a weird feeling.
I mean, my question to you is: do you work hard?
All the time.
Then why
Like more than anyone. I know.
why should you doubt your success?
No, I do. Well, that's what I mean. I don't. It's
sorry,
almost like
why should you care if you feel like you're bragging to other people? Screw them.
no. I know because I like people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. I don't want people to think I'm bragging or whatever. But I know most successful people don't give a crap, do they?
don't.
They're just like, yeah, I'm a winner.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with succeeding. What's the opposite? What, you like to fail?
No, I don't know.
Exactly. You like to succeed.
Yeah.
So ride that train. Because you're doing extremely well. Like, a lot of people look up to you, and I would like to say in the academy, you're doing extremely well. So that's why you're here today, because you've got a very good story.
Actually, this woman and a bloke, I did the guest speaking in the Northampton Inner Circle.
Okay.
2 people came up. I was nervous as hell because Suck talked just before me. He's also really big in the academy, but before my time. So I'm not sure you'd even know him.
No, I don't.
I didn't know him prior to this event. I think I'd seen his face and stuff, but his talk and his presentation was so well executed. Presentation, PowerPoint, the lot. And I was like, oh, crap. I have got nothing. I just turn up and talk, and I talk about my story sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I was like, oh, crap. I was like engaged so much when he was talking. So I was engaged. So I was like really like nervous then because I was like, it's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
But and I was saying I was nervous. So we had a tiny little break in between. And these 2 people just said to me, like, look, Narelle, we've come multiple hours driving here to just come see you. And I was like, wow. And that meant so much. They were like, you've inspired us because you started from nothing. And I was like, okay, that's so sweet.
Yeah, no, that's the impact that you've created.
Yeah, but I didn't know I was having that impact until somebody says it to you. You don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
you're just running your own race.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I don't focus on what other people are doing either, because a lot of people have way more cash than I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I guess so. I like to move to a little bit accountability.
Yes.
So, what is one thing that Narelle needs to work on?
Yeah.
One thing that
I know what it is.
one thing that will help her become the better version of herself. The one person that will help her become a better businesswoman. What is that one thing? Could be anything.
It's the way I speak to people close to me.
Okay.
So I was going to say communication, but obviously that's not like I'm good at communication.
Yeah.
So my brother works with me.
Okay.
And my best friend and my PA is becoming friend. Like I speak to him every day. Yeah, my PA does not so much, but my best mate and my brother, they'll say that like I insult them without knowing I'm insulting them. That's what I was saying earlier a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
So I do need to work on that. That needs to change. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is though.
So what are you telling them? Like, what do you gauge that you're telling them that you think is an insult?
No, I have no idea. That's what I mean. I have no idea. Unless they outright call me out on it there and then. I do not know. So like, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to use this example because it's the only one I can think of. But I insulted my best friend's partner.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't even know I'd done it.
Yeah.
But I was, but when she said it back to me, I was like, oh, I can see why.
Yeah.
I'd said it wrong. It was a joke that people have been saying for years. It was something like, something to the effect, like, oh, you're punching.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because I was like back in my mate.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, you're punching. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't say that. That's not what came out of my mouth. What came out of my mouth was like, I can't remember what it was, but I can't remember what it exactly was, but it wasn't those words. And essentially I said that he wasn't good looking enough, right?
No.
To a degree.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh God. I was like, I haven't even met him yet in person. And I was getting on really well with him. So I was gutted, like genuinely gutted. That's what happens when I have a few beers. That was a couple of beers in me.
So how do you think we're going to tackle this?
No idea. Because I think the people closest to me need to call me out on it.
Yeah, they do.
At the point of, and then
we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so friends, if you're listening, every time Narelle says something crazy or insults you, tell her. Let her know.
Let me know straight away. So I can I can apologize for it straight away.
Exactly.
Because normally it's not what I meant. And then do it that way. But there's loads of things. I could be more. I wouldn't say I procrastinate as such because I'm constantly working. So I'm always doing something.
Yeah.
But I suppose being more focused on whatever the exact thing is, because I'll do something. Like my brother likes to think about things, and that bugs the hell. Like it's not that I don't think about it, but it bugs the hell out of me. Like he wants to talk about everything all the time, and I'm like, let me just send an email and it's done. Like why are we talking about it? So we just think in completely different ways. So like, I think I just need to take in other people's ways of being as well.
Okay, all right. That's not too bad. It's not a bad thing. On the flip side, what is one thing that you're doing really well, that you're really proud of?
Oh, I have to say raising finance.
Okay.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, as I say, I didn't come from money. I didn't have good stead at the beginning and all that. And like everybody that gave me money at the beginning in particular, they've all been paid back now.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So like when my winners came out and bad credit, no, and not unemployed. And I was like, why are my investors going to be hitting themselves right now? Do you know what I mean? But look, obviously, because they've all been paid back, they probably think, like a couple of them went again, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So they said, look, give me the interest and go again for another year. So which makes, help me along and stuff. And we always put that out as an option. But so, I would say raising finance without having the standing or the backing that you'd expect to have to get investors.
Yeah. Would you say then that means because you came from nothing, you value money a lot more? So when you get the money, it's like, wow, I'm actually able to raise finance and get money.
Yes. You mean when I raised money?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Because I didn't come from it. Yeah, absolutely. Do I value money that I have in my own personal pocket? Probably not as much as I should. Probably, it probably burns a hole in my pocket. Like my mum hates me spending. Yeah. When I do have a bit. So, but finance wise, in terms of the projects and stuff, obviously it just goes in one account and out the other. Yeah, exactly. So it is a very good feeling when you do it. Like there's been a couple of times where I've been caught out and I need money really quick, and it's been some big sums. And like I remember on the Monday I found out I needed 87.5 by the Friday.
Shit.
Yeah, it was my first thought. And then I was like, right, no point moaning about it. Let's get on with it. Like, let's just do it. Yeah. So I just started making calls, just seeing if anyone's situation's changed. Actually, so seeing if people's situations changed, still not asking them if they have money. Do you see what I mean? There's one guy that somebody gave me as an investor, but he was waiting for somebody else to pay him back from from a previous investment. Yeah. I was ill over Christmas. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. And then so I've been touching base with him every month or so, and I don't ask him if he's got money. I literally just say, hey, hope everything's going well, or Happy New Year, or whatever. And I just touch base. Do you know what I mean? But it keeps me on them, in their mind.
On their radar, yeah.
Yeah, on their radar, yeah. So, yeah, stuff like that. So, yeah, I just got on with it. I just started, putting feelers out there and just seeing where people are at and touching base with a lot of people. I got there in the end.
I'm just worried of time. I think we've got 15 minutes left, so I'll probably start asking the questions that I ask every guest towards the end of the podcast. I guess the first one is, what advice would you give to someone starting out?
Starting out? Go for cash flow first off, because I did do that, and that did help, and it got me to the point where I could start raising finance to go. But get educated, as everybody says, but it does make such a difference. It really does. And by doing it through the academy, so this is what I took from the academy. I'm good at education, but I don't like it. Yep. I found them engaging. I was still listening by the end of it. Like the networking breaks and stuff like that, they're empowering, they're energetic. So it's not like coming down to the £1 crash course and you're sitting there all day bored out your brain writing notes down. Do you know what I mean? You are writing notes, but it's way more engaging than that. So, if you feel that way about education, it's not like that. Get down there. I'm sure you'll link it below.
Yes, I will. I will. I'll link it below to the crash course. Yeah. Second one is, who's had a significant impact on your life and why? Can be multiple people that are alive.
That are alive. It's got to be my mum. Yeah. For obvious reasons, but my mum, when I was young, and now don't get me wrong, I didn't like it at the time, right? But now I see that the way I am is because of her. So she had 3 young children. Yeah. She had a full-time job. She decided to do a degree. And she had a mum dying of dementia for 10 years. It was a long old process. So there was like, she was always late picking me up. My mates hated it if my mum was the one picking us up because everyone knew she'd always be late. Like it was a thing. But now I know as an adult, the reason I work so hard and the reason that I am the way I am is because she was like that. She worked her ass off to do everything, whether she was late or not. She worked her ass off, and she started from scratch. I suppose when my mum and dad divorced, my mum says she supported my dad's career. He was a policeman, which makes sense. He went through the ranks and what have you. So essentially, when they divorced, she had to start again. Like she was a mum, so she then had to educate herself. She had to do all that stuff. So I purely put I have a good relationship with both parents, but I put down my work ethic to my mother, which means that she overall has had the biggest impact. I wouldn't have been able to do any of these companies without her because she had the good credit and the employment. So she's on all my companies. And that took a hell of a lot of trust considering the position I was in, credit-wise and whatnot, and borrowing tenner off her and 20 quid off her and whatever. Yeah. That's what it was like back in the day. And then, and all these networking events, every time I come away, she has to pick up my kid. I'm a single mum. Like, I'm a single mum with 9 companies. It's mental. Chaos. This is what I'm talking about. It's not so much in my businesses that it's chaos. It's everything else surrounding it is chaos. I've got 3 stupid dogs. So, without my mum, I wouldn't have the work ethic in the first place. I wouldn't have the childcare or the second parent to my child, as it were. Now, like, I wouldn't be able to do anything without her.
No, that's really nice because you are a reflection of your parents, right? When you're young.
But me and her bicker like mad.
Really?
Yeah, we can't be. We're a nightmare when we're together. But look, she is probably the one that's had the biggest impact.
That's wicked. On my Big up Mumsy. Big up Narelle's Mumsy.
Love you, Mum.
What's one quote you live by and why?
One quote. Probably one from that audiobook, actually.
Yeah.
I won't be able to repeat it word for word.
You can paraphrase, it's fine.
Yeah, because it's ye olden days, the audiobook. It's like the book is said in old terminology, but essentially it's about the criticism thing, which I'm going to try and implement now going forward on everything. It said that people remember, like people criticize when stuff goes wrong, but they don't remember to praise when it goes right. And then some more words in between, and then he said something like, said something to the effect of like, man remembers when he's criticized, but ye doesn't get praised enough, or something like that. But it's very much just, you always get the negative response when you do something wrong. Yeah. But when you do something right, you never get the praise. You just don't. Yeah. Like, so as a boss and as a leader, we need to praise and not criticize. Yeah. So that is what I'm going to start living by.
Perfect. Wicked. Next one is biggest regret in your life. Bit of a deep one. You may not have any.
No, I got a few. Big, deep, some, I don't want to say.
Don't have to.
I'll be vague about it then. There's some stuff that, there's some stupid stuff I did as a youngster that I would take back if I could. Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, we'll
leave it there.
Yeah, we'll swiftly moving on.
It's not that bad. It was just stupid. And it was just, and it was a place of anger as well, where it shouldn't have been. Like, I wouldn't consider myself an angry person now. I would have. Really? Before. Yeah. Well, because I was always annoyed that my mum wasn't my mum was always busy, so it felt like she wasn't there enough. And do you know what I mean? My brother, I had it, thought I got 2 brothers, I thought one of them used to pick on me, and do you know what I mean? So it just felt probably lonely, I guess, which made me act out a bit, I guess, as a kid.
But you're here today.
Yeah, and I'm super positive now. I don't even know where the switch for the positivity. There was a switch for positivity at some point. Okay. I don't know when it was. But I don't know when it was, but so stuff changed.
Wicked. And then this is
probably London.
So I get all of my guests to write out a question.
Yes.
So if you could read it out and answer it.
Do you strive for success to prove people wrong? If not, what drives you to be so successful?
I think that resonates quite nicely with you.
Do I strive for success to prove people wrong? Oh, to prove people wrong? Yes. Sorry, I get it now. Yes, absolutely. Yes. When people say, teachers used to say to me, I'd never be nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good quote, actually. Wetherspoons.
Okay. Yeah.
He got told by his teacher that he would
pub, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He got told by the owner of the chain
Yeah.
He got told by his teacher that he'd never amount to anything, and his teacher was called Mr. Weatherspoon. He named the chain after his biggest critic. Yeah, that's the story I was told anyway.
Yeah,
I haven't like fact checked that or anything.
Yeah.
But I've been going off that for years. I thought that was hilarious.
Okay.
Because that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does.
Do I strive to prove people wrong? Yes and no, because I haven't got anyone that said like, "Oh, you'll never do anything."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I do like success. I do like it. I wouldn't say there's anyone in particular though I'm trying to prove wrong. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if not, what drives you to be so successful? Just a want to be successful. I am driven to just like so. Me and my brother's on with me 50-50. I say this a lot. He would be happy with like 20K a month income. There's no limit to what I want. Like I'm not saying that in a greedy way. I just don't want to stop.
Yes.
Like if I can keep going, why would I stop?
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? So there's no limit to what success I want. So that in itself keeps me driven.
Wicked.
Do you want me to write a question?
We'll do it after.
Okay.
One last question is
sorry.
Obviously the Endless Race podcast. That's the name of the pod.
Yeah.
When you hear that phrase, what does the endless race mean to you in regards to like life?
The endless race.
Endless race, yeah.
See, because you've got the word race in there, I instantly go to like races, people's races.
As in like colour?
As in like colour, yeah.
No, we're talking like a race.
No, I
like
know.
A track. Yeah,
I know. Every time I say it, I'm like, that's not the meaning. Like, why do I keep going?
But that's always that's a good like different background.
Different, yeah. So like
makes sense as well.
Yeah. Because anyone can be successful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The endless race. Well, it is an endless race. There's no. Well, if you've got a goal and you achieve it, what then? You it's like you squash. I watched this on a video. This is why I'm doing this. And literally, like last night or something, he said when you get to the end of your goal, it's like you've closed that chapter and you've diminished the energy that you had, and then you're like, well, then what? So people who've got like incremental goals, I think they just keep going and going, which makes it an endless race.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You never lose the energy for wanting to get there because you get to like periodic goals rather than just one end goal.
Yeah.
So I suppose like even the primate rehabilitation center, when I get to the point of building that, what's the chances I'm not going to love what I do so much now and the success and all that stuff that I might not employ people that are like me to do that thing?
Do that, yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because I don't want to stop building.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because my thesis, if I like to call it, is there's endless successes, there's endless failures. And that's literally it. You're running your own pace, you're running your own race. Don't bother what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone above you.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone below you.
Yeah.
So.
But I think that we should. So what my first ever investor, I think we could leave it on this note because this is like, my first ever investor was through a Facebook post. I'd been posting for nearly a year for X amount of money for this long, for 12%, whatever it was back then. And he said that he'd ignored so many of those posts off other people and stuff. And he said, but something drew him to mine. Yep. Which in and of itself is mental, isn't it? To be drawn to something like that. And then loads of people had reached out to me and it never went anywhere. And then he did. He invested in me. We'd never met personally. We'd spoke over the phone and that was it. Not even a video call, right? We've since bought a house together. And he's still got that investment going with me. He allowed me, the deal in question fell through. He allowed me to repurpose that deal, repurpose the money, to get my first couple of rent-to-rents. He guaranteed me on all those properties because I didn't. Wow. Yep, right. So he was like a godsend to me. Like he was like an angel, and I couldn't express that enough to him. I told him all the time, like you're an angel. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like I'm like I can't tell you how grateful I am, etc., etc. And I said to him, "What made you do it? Like what made you help me? Even, you know?" And he said that different people, and he's successful. He builds data centers from the ground up in Tokyo and Singapore and for English companies. So he's, very successful in his own right. He said that throughout his career, different people have given him the leg up he needed when he needed it. And it's time for him to give it back. And I was just like,
that's really nice.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's just such a nice person. So I he might be the reason I'm more positive, because I just genuinely believe in, you said that people are above you, will always be above you, and there'll always be people below you. I think if we, whatever level you're on, if you're constantly helping the people below you, that will only accelerate you. I truly believe that.
No, I do.
I probably live, I definitely live by that as well.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true, and that's maybe that is the switch that.
Yeah, maybe.
Think about
But
it.
that was only 2 years ago, though. I feel like I've been positive for longer than that. It's got to be something to do with animals.
Something. Just think about it. Think about it. But Narelle, it's been a pleasure. If you want to let the people know where they can find you on Instagram,
of course.
everywhere.
Yeah. So across all my channels, I'm Narelle Cowan Property. So that's Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. That's pretty much all I use.
Perfect. Well, Narelle, it's been a pleasure. Guys, I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.